podcast about something where each week we dive deep into whatever it is we find interesting. I'm your host, Calvin, and joining me from the year 2146, it's your co-host, Nick Richardson.
It's not as dope as I thought it would be.
A lot of weird stuff going on in the future.
Very fucking dirty. Unimaginably so.
Yeah, it's like everybody who's designing the future just catered to the dreams of nerds.
Right. And that's why all the women are pretty much just running around naked, screaming at the top of their lungs. It's wild out here. It's like the Wild West.
Strange.
It's very, I don't know. I'm not a fan.
Somehow we've Skyped across the chasm of over 100 years, and I can see everything Nick's seeing here on his camera. So yeah, we know what's going on.
It's this special camera that a genie dove into 10,000 years ago, and unfortunately, I found it. So
all right, now that we're getting into genies, we probably just need to move on.
No, we're just getting started.
We are here to give out future movie superlatives. What is a future movie? It is any movie that is set significantly in the future from when it was made, not from now. Because if you do it from now, then you'd have to disqualify Back to the Future 2, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Blade Runner. All of these wouldn't qualify. But we're just saying they have to be in the future from when they were made. It has to be a vision of the future from the filmmakers, even if they technically take place in what is now our past.
Yeah, totally.
Did we create the paradox yet?
We're just getting started.
So we are going to give out 5 superlative awards today, and we give out these awards every month. We do a different type of movie. This month it's future movies, and we are giving out best vehicle. Future movies always got cool vehicles, or like they try to.
Yeah, we have a sucklative for this too, because some of them are fucking whack.
A lot of them are pretty whack. The best future to live in, which should be fun. That's where you'd actually want to live.
Harder than I thought.
I had a couple options, and I'm a little surprised with the one I ended up going with, because I watched a lot of these movies again, and I went with one I was surprised about. It's not Alien.
You're definitely fucking not. Nope.
The best piece of tech. There's always some cool tech gadgets, the future tech gadgets, that we haven't seen yet that are coming soon. The most realistic artificial intelligence. Usually future movies deal with artificial intelligence in some way, and I thought there's 2 ways to go here. You can either pick the most lifelike or the closest to what we think the real world will evolve into.
I mean, if Elon Musk lives for like another 40 years, I fear what we'll evolve into, or what they'll evolve into. That. Stop listening to me, Elon, you dick.
And the last award we will give out is the most compelling problem that could only exist in the future. So something that we can't even fathom yet because we're not in the future.
You see, I just a heads up, I went a slightly different route.
Okay, that's fine.
But I'll bring it to you.
As long as it happens in a movie that takes place in the future, I don't really care.
See,
these awards are open to your own interpretation.
When I actually started going through all these and rewatching some of these movies, it was like, I'm not going to pick anything that I originally thought I was going to pick.
That's kind of what happened with me. And we'll discuss this as we go through them. And as Nick said, we have the sucklatives to go along with these at the end, which is the worst version of all these things that we just named. So
it's like a mini roast.
Exactly. And we kind of go through those faster because it's a lot easier to pick bad things than good things. Or you just don't want to expand as much on bad things. Like it's easier to identify, I guess, with.
Most people agree on the bad things about it.
I'm going to shock you with one of my bad things.
Fucking shock me, Calvin.
We're not there yet. Let's get into the categories. If you're new to the movie superlatives, again, we've been doing this every month for like 2 years.
Yeah. We got a lot of them. They're dope, though.
They are. We can't give more than one movie one award, and we can't give more than one award to more than one movie. We do have honorable mentions, and you can repeat these in the sucklatives because the sucklatives don't count in the same order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I never do that. That's taking the easy way out.
I don't know that I did, but I made the rules, so if I say you can, you can.
I'll keep that in my back pocket.
Yeah. Well, I say I can. I never said you can.
Oh, whoa. That's some squibby bullshit.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
The first award is the best vehicle. Nick, what do you got?
I got this immediately was one I didn't think I would pick, but I eventually came around to it, and it won me over. That's the USS Enterprise, specifically from Star Trek Beyond.
Okay.
This takes place in 2263. I love how, sorry, go ahead.
I have no Star Treks on my feed.
I was pleasantly surprised with the newer movies. I enjoyed them.
Yeah, they're good. I picked different. I went different way. I didn't rewatch any of them for this. I'm okay with it.
Well, I mean, honestly, I really just like the way it looks. I think it looks tight.
Oh yeah, the Enterprise is an iconic ship. It's great.
Well, it's incredibly aesthetically pleasing, and I love the fact that you see a couple shots of them in like the boiler room and stuff like that, the inner workings of the ship. But for the most part, you just got the main, 10 people on deck.
Well, and the bridge is great. They got the Dreamatorium. I know that's not what it's called. I can't think of the name of the thing.
It's where they take acid and just have fun.
Yeah, they just do whatever the hell they want. I don't know if that ever made an appearance in the movies. You got the
Chris Pine was in it, bro. So I mean, it happened.
That's true.
Trust me.
You got the beam where you can beam people up to the ship. Or down
that's what
to
I was gonna say. The fact that it has hyperspace capabilities as well as teleportation capabilities, I am on that shit. 100%. I would just be like, yeah, beam me down there. Let me get it. Bought some Portillos. Beam me back up, homie, and then I'm fucking gone.
I'm pretty sure that's what Chris Pine's Captain Kirk would do, and then at the same time, bone some chicks while he's down.
I was gonna say, bang all the chicks that are working at the time at Portillo's.
100%.
He's like, you want some Italian beef, honey? Oh my god! He'd get the one they would just throw hot au jus in his face, and he's just, oh fuck! Comes
Sorry,
back.
Chris Pine.
Yeah, Captain, don't hit on Italian Chicago chicks about Italian beef sandwiches. They will fuck you up with hot au jus.
All right.
Noted. I did have a runner up as well.
Let's hear it.
The Nebuchadnezzar from The Matrix, obviously.
Nah,
fam. But the design of that ship is too dope.
You're all about the cruise ships here. I went a little more personal vehicles.
A little more personal vehicles.
Yeah. There's a lot of problems with envisioning yourself in the future of the Matrix. And that starts with you're in this underground tunneling hovercraft that breaks literally every 5 minutes.
It's a piece of shit. That's for sure. Well, I mean, its format of transport is incredibly impractical. What if you just fall into a cavern and you can't... How do you suspend yourself?
I believe it's by magnets.
That's what I'm saying. But if you fall into a cavern...
So if there are no magnets, you're screwed.
Yeah, you're fucked.
Yeah, I have a hard time with the Nebuchadnezzar because it literally breaks all the time. It's got those cool things where you can just jack yourself into a port and go into the real world, but...
Yeah, and literally do whatever the fuck you want.
Well, kind of.
Well, at least Neo can.
Yeah, or if you're that one guy that is a traitor.
Fucking traitor! He would have stormed the Capitol. That was my one.
He would have been first in line.
Yeah. He's going this is going to be juicy.
I think I've got one somewhere.
I'm going to eat Nancy Pelosi's steak.
Him and his fucking steaks.
I always thought that steak looked gross as fuck as a kid, and then I grew up, and I was like, yeah, that looks pretty good.
It's okay. I didn't rewatch Matrix here. I probably should have. I do really like The Matrix, and I am a defender of the sequels. We don't have to get into that now.
Absolutely. But, dude. Finally, someone else.
It's just enjoyable.
How many mech fights do you see like that? I mean, it's literally just giant guns fighting robots. That is so dope. It was like a anime movie, basically.
Anytime there's big robots fighting anything, I'm there.
I am fucking there, 100%. Unless it's Pacific Rim Uprising. That can suck my butt.
I was still there. The movie was just bad around the fighting robots.
It's fucking horrible. That wasn't even good.
Right. I agree. So it's my turn, and I am going off your radar here with G.I. Joe and the Rise of Cobra.
When does that take place?
2020, released in 2009. So it's in the quote-unquote not too distant future, but still the future.
That's pretty tight. That's debatable.
So they've got the Sharks, which are these like speedboat submarines.
Those are dope.
Which are fucking awesome with some, laser type weapons. I guess they're kind of like sonic weapons.
It's called a Shark too, right?
Yeah, it's called a Shark.
And it has freaking laser beams on its head.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
They've got the Night Raven, which is a jet of some sort. Super Mach 1 speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of looks like a shark, but in the air now.
Nice. And it has freaking laser beams.
And it has laser beams also,
nice.
Enough to take down nuclear warheads.
Those
There's just a lot
lasers.
of cool vehicles in G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra. They got snowmobiles, jets, tanks, sharks, anything you can name. They put a cool spin on it, which is, kind of what G.I. Joe did in the cartoons. And they all have got these great names, the Night Raven, the Shark. Anytime, like, if you're going to make, etc. If you're going to make a future movie with these cool looking vehicles, give them cool names. I don't care if they sound stupid.
Those sound
the future,
dope.
Everything sounds stupid.
The fuck? Right. I'm hitting him with a squadron of Night Ravens. It's like, yo.
Well, I had one Night Raven. It was still in the beta testing.
Well, I'm just saying. Imagine hearing that over the radio or over the comms, and it's just like, oh fuck, I'm gonna be like the Japanese in World War II and dig. And dig and dig. Yeah,
have you seen G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra?
I have, and I was just about to say, also a pretty good film. I like it.
It's solid. It's good.
Do those suits of armor count as a vehicle?
I was counting them as like a piece of tech.
That's
like the ones that they like speed up their bodies.
Right, when they're like running through the street. Yeah, I would have counted that as a piece of
tech. Yeah.
I mean, that's probably a combo there.
Do they have like rollerblades on them? I was watching it while I was working, so I didn't pay that close of attention. No, they just run in them, right? If they have rollerblades, then I would say yes.
They run like faster than Captain America.
Yeah, I remember that.
Super agile.
Did you see the second one with The Rock?
No, I can't say that I did.
It's not good. It's
I'm sure
very
I tried.
bad. The first one, Rise of Cobra, is really fun. It's got like your mix of action in there. It's got some of the campy G.I. Joe-ness. They've got this futuristic tech and kind of warfare going on.
Good
fights and just good enough acting to make it work.
Yeah.
Nobody's taking themselves seriously,
right,
but it's also not too campy either.
They had like 5 or 6 lines where I'm just like, oh, Jesus Christ. But then they had probably 15 or 20 of the same, like, in the same ballpark, but the way they wrote it and came about it in the story, it was like, all right, cool. I'll live with that. So those are pretty
Channing
good
Tatum and
numbers.
Marlon Wayans can kind of make things work that don't really work usually.
Fantastic combo.
And same with Dennis Quaid, like in there as this Captain America type stand-up guy. He can deliver on that. Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the evil mastermind Cobra is fantastic as well.
He's Cobra?
Yeah.
I did not remember that.
Yeah. And they got a great evil plan. Always good for an evil a good evil plan. I mean, they've got these nanites, going to take down the world with them. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. I kind of need to rewatch that.
Yeah.
I think I own it somewhere.
I had an honorable mention here too, and that was iRobot, which takes place in 2035. He had the self-driving / hovering Audi. And Audis are just dope, regardless of what decade it is.
I've had bad personal experiences with them. Well, everyone I've known that's owned an Audi, which is probably like 6 or 7 people, they've all been pieces of shit. They've all been stick shifts, and they're stupid, so I don't know if they can actually drive them properly, and that may be why.
Yeah, that's an issue.
That's a big time.
They always look cool at the very least.
Yeah, they're usually pretty fucking sleek. Those are German engineered, if I'm correct. I'm not a big car guy. And that makes sense, because they make a chainsaw look dope.
Yeah, and Demolition Man kind of has the same type of futuristic car where it looks like it has wheels, but it's really hovering, and they can kind of move 3-dimensionally rather than just forward and backwards. They can kind of swerve and hover and move around. I like that style flying car more than actual flying cars.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I like the super highways that are basically silent, and they're just moving, in and out, interchanging lanes and stuff like that, and no one's paying attention.
There's just too many potential issues with flying cars.
Oh, absolutely.
How high or low do you go?
I mean, you just kill all the birds.
Yeah.
They would just get smeared all the time.
Birds was my last point here, but when is it legal to pass? Do you have to go around? Do you go over? Do you go under?
Fuck, I'm blowing through them birds.
Is there a van lane? Is there a car lane? Is there a truck lane? How do you know?
You know, if they just rose it if they just made them levitate off the ground like 4 foot, 5 foot, I know it's still pretty high. Think of all the roadkill you would not have.
Well, and you'd save a ton on infrastructure, right?
Oh, it's shit ton.
Because your roads, you'd have to have lanes, right?
Absolutely.
You stay here. You can't just go anywhere. But you wouldn't, the upkeep to the actual road wouldn't be as necessary. And with the flying cars, like, do you have lanes or are you just flying anywhere? I know in like Star Wars Episode 2, they kind of had lanes. But there were levels of lanes too, and it was really weird and hard to catch. But then there were other places where people are just flying wherever the hell they want.
Most other ones. The only thing I could think that would work is like a digital heads-up display that syncs with every flying vehicle.
Well, yeah, they'd have to be automated too, right? Every
Absolutely.
Vehicle is driving itself, and then it doesn't matter.
Man, the operating system that would be able to actually do that would be fucking insane. You'd have to do that on a local municipality.
Yeah.
Plus,
if you get in a wreck, you're pretty much gonna die.
Oh, you're gonna get smeared. There's no doubt about it. Will Smith pretty much proved that.
Well, and you're just gonna fall out of the sky.
That's true.
If you get crashed, how are you gonna keep flying?
You know, that's not where my mind went. Bad on me.
All right, so we are ready to move on to the next award, the best future to live in. We asked Twitter what they thought the best future to live in and have some comments here. The options on our Twitter poll at APA something were Back to the Future 2, iRobot, Demolition Man, and Other. Back to the Future 2 got 66.7% of the votes, iRobot got 25%, and Demolition Man got 8.3%. Other got 0%. So out of those three, everyone wanted to pick at least one of those three.
I'm kind of surprised Demolition Man got that much. That's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
Got some votes out there. Well, we're going to talk about Demolition Man in depth in a few minutes here, because that was one I didn't rewatch. I watched it for the first time, and I've got some thoughts.
I've never seen it, but I listened to Hold My Popcorn's episode on it.
Okay.
I think I have a generally decent idea.
So the Tangent versus Movie podcast at Tangent Versus say, looks like I'm in the minority picking iRobot. I wanted to choose from the suggestions, and I'm really into tech, so I think this universe would be streamlined and cool. First instincts went to Back to the Future 2, but people are chaos, and there seems to be slightly more safety in the iRobot world. I agree.
Not with Shia LaBeouf running around.
Well, yeah.
Chaz.
At everybody.
Can't fucking cuss. Is he Chaz in iRobot? Or is that in Constantine?
No, he's not Chaz. He's like Shane or something. Now I gotta look at it. I did just watch iRobot. Of course, it didn't find the right one. Robot. There it is, 2004. He is not in the top billing on the first page of IMDb. Way to go, Shia.
Fucking Shia.
Farber is his name.
Farber.
Yeah. So I don't know that they ever actually mentioned his name.
Chaz. It's Chaz and
Chaz.
Constantine.
The Tennish podcast at Tennish Pod says, dude, video phone calls in Back to the Future 2 would be so badass if we can ever figure out the technology. I think he's being sarcastic there, because we have video calls that are better than Back to the Future 2, in my opinion.
Mine never worked properly. So, I'm going with him.
That's fair. Deluxe Edition, yet another pop culture podcast at Deluxe Edition Pod, says Demolition Man, you haven't lived until you've used the 3 seashells, which hard disagree there.
How do they work? I need to know.
I have an answer to that when we get to my Demolition Man.
Did you legit
segment.
figure it out, Calvin?
I didn't figure it out. Sylvester Stallone has a quote from some interview on it. And then the final comment.
Scrape it from your ass, and then you fucking throw some water on it.
Kyle Curtis Flett at Curtis_Flett votes for Back to the Future 2. All right, great job. Great job, everyone. Thank you for participating. That's at APA something. We do polls sometimes before we record and give shout outs to people who respond. Most weeks. Yeah, we haven't done them in a while, though. So
we appreciate it.
Back to sometimes. So our picks for best future live in. I am going with my man from the Tangent universe or the Tangent verse, and going with iRobot. Which takes place in 2035, and if you take it as a snapshot right up until the movie actually starts, this is the best future.
It seems very clean, and
It's a rough couple days after the movie starts, but
yes. I mean, it sounds like this shit never happens. So, I mean, it's at least predictable.
Yeah. We've got robot and AI assistants all over the place. There's reliable self-driving cars. It's a technology and internet-driven society, which is very much the way that we're going. Robots there, they free up all this time and energy for all of humanity to succeed at kind of what they want, because the robots are doing all the menial things and remembering things for you and running your errands and things like that. So you don't have to worry about those. You can focus on the things you want to focus on.
I mean, I still think about the prosthetics. Like, that is so fucking dope.
Yep. That's a good point too. They can basically replace entire limbs.
Well, I mean, just the field applications for the spray on skin. Like, imagine that would just change the art of war completely.
I would think, why do you need the spray on skin if the robotics are so robust and so ubiquitous that, you know, that this isn't, I'm sure he's not the only person with a robotic limb. Why do you need to spray out? Like, I would sport that shit like I'm Cyborg out there.
Well, yeah, you would. He doesn't like him. He's like,
I guess
no,
that's true.
I don't fucking. He's like the Mandalorian. The Mandalorian. Doesn't like droids.
Yeah, it's pretty true. And as long as the AI controlling all the robots doesn't get on this power trip and decide that it's going to subjugate humans and make them do what it wants, I think it would be a solid way to live.
I'd be okay with it.
Well, and here's the kind of underrated but important aspect that I think a lot of people overlook is they're all interconnected within the same network. And yeah, the Vicky, you know, that's controlling it goes crazy, but if you can control Vicky, then yeah, it's a much better system that they're all connected to a single hub, which is kind of how the internet works already. And the fact that you have this hive mind is actually more helpful than it is harmful, just because all of these devices are constantly communicating with each other. So it only makes them more efficient because they know, well, this robot's already over there doing that, so I don't have to do that. I can go over here. Or this car is in that lane, so I can't go in that lane. I can go in this lane, but there's another car coming out. Like, the cars all know where they are at all times. It makes it easier to help.
Absolutely. It's like a giant to-do list that everyone could pick something from, but everyone else knows what that something is.
Exactly.
That I got two things, though, about the AI from that. Mm-hmm. One, Vicky is the dumbest name for an AI I've ever heard.
Well, it's an acronym.
I get it, but either way, it makes me think of a dentist assistant, and I can't stand it. And two,
it's also the babysitter on Fairly Odd Parents.
I was just about to say that. That was my second one. Vicky, you're so icky. Vicky's icky as fuck in that movie.
Love the Fairly Odd Parents.
Love that show. That was so good. The Crimson Chin.
The other thing that I don't like, or well, it's interesting in these movies, but it's so stupid, is that people complain about the robots or AI taking people's jobs, and they never focus on how much time and energy is freed up for creative and personal pursuits. Like, you can do anything if robots are doing all this stuff for you.
Like, shit, man. Some people are wired different. My grandpa, if you said, "Oh, you don't have to work, man. You can do whatever you want," he would sit there and suck on a fucking potato because he literally doesn't want to do anything but work.
Fine. Those people can still work. You can find a trade. Like, there's things humans have to do. And if AI is going to take over, you know, you're going to have some sort of universal basic income going on. That's going to be doable because AI would also save so much money in almost every single industry.
Definitely.
So you have all this surplus of money to go around and to share. It allows people in the world to kind of pursue their dreams, live their life how they want to, rather than being stuck doing a job that they don't really want to, just to make ends meet or pay the bills or whatever they need to. And then you have the skilled labor part that actually needs humans to be done. That becomes even more in demand now, and people who take the time to learn those trades are going to be extremely well paid and valuable and sought after.
It's the new rich within the working class.
Exactly.
There you go.
So people like your grandfather will learn a trade and have something to do that a robot can't do.
I'm pretty sure drinking coffee and talking to people is not a learnable trade. He's really good at it.
That's like 90% of office life too.
I mean, he owned several restaurants and stuff. So that's what he'd do. He was that guy that would walk to every table and be like, "Hey, how you doing? Do you like some coffee?"
I had an honorable mention here as Real Steel. Just because any future with giant fighting robots is one I want to live in. And it seems like there's a pretty low barrier to entry to actually fighting the robots.
Yeah, I mean, if you can scrape together like 20 grand, you're in.
Yeah.
Well, and
fight
Hugh
robots.
Jackman's there. But
Yeah.
I never finished that movie. I got like 25 minutes in.
So much fun. The kid really sucks in it, but
He's
the
fucking
whole
awful.
movie is fun.
I just want to see, Hugh Jackman like, yeah! Jumping in the air with his fist held high while the robot does the same.
He must have been like mid Wolverine training during this movie because
He's
his
fucking ripped.
neck is weird. Like it's half there and half not, and his head looks super tiny. It's really like I just
Because he shaved his head.
that might be it. I got hyper focused on it this time when I rewatched it, and I was just like, what is going on with his head and his neck?
You turn it on, you're like, whoa! The fuck? Honey, you seeing this shit? Is that Hugh Jackman or Hugh
Small head.
Hackman?
Good one. So what's your best future to live in, Nick?
I'm gonna surprise you. It's in the 28th century. Take a guess.
It's 28th century, like 2700.
I don't know. I was going to do the Googling on that, and then I said, 28th century sounds pretty cool. And that's Valerian in the City of 1,000 Planets.
Never saw it.
It's a terrible movie.
I really like Dane
Terrible.
DeHaan, and I would have watched it if it was just him, but I cannot stand Cara Delevingne.
Yeah, she's fucking
and I heard
awful.
it was bad, so I was like, no, I'm out. Sorry.
It was way too long, and it just felt disjointed. But the world they created, where like humans and aliens basically just live together, are cool with each other. Everything's all bright and beautiful, and it just seems like a real good time. The unity, camaraderie between species and stuff like that. That would kind of go back to the iRobot thing with all the robots working with you. Just imagine all the sharing of technology, cultures, food, medicine, fucking all those innovations would be so dope.
Yeah. I like any world where you get the communities working in harmony, and then there's like one random dude that's like, nah, fuck this. We don't need to work in harmony. And that's always the bad guy. And he tries to just destroy everything.
Right, and that's why you have dope-ass space cops.
Exactly.
They don't do much, they
Space
usually write
cops.
tickets to people for space jaywalking, but sometimes you get a villain.
There you go. I like that pick. I don't have much to say on it just because I haven't seen it.
I
That
don't
was
have
one of
much
the
else to say.
drawing parts, is it looked like it was a cool world that they built. And that's based on a book series too, right?
Right, it's kind of like Dune in the sense it's one of those, groundbreaking sci-fi books.
Have you read it?
I've never read. No, I thought about it, and then I watched the movie. I was basically like, if the movie's dope, I'll read it, or I'll get it in audiobook and eventually get to it. And then I watched it. I was pissed, especially because I took like 4 days to watch it from Redbox and had to pay like $8.
Yeah, that's never fun. When
I was fucking mad, dude. I slammed that shit in there. I was like, fuck this movie.
That's when you got to put the dollar in it for the next person that mistakenly rents it. And you're like, you know what? This movie sucks. It took me 4 days. Here, this one's on me.
I should have just broke that bitch in half and threw it somewhere.
I mean, that's what people
in
do
the
with half of
garbage.
them anyways. You ever try and get a kids movie from the Redbox?
Yeah, I did twice, and both times they were for me. But
Those things are scratched to shit.
me and the wife, yeah, dude. One had piss on it, like straight up like cat piss.
The library's worse. Like you go to the library and get some of those kids movies, and they're like the clear mirrored backing of a DVD is not clear.
Yeah,
It's
there's
white.
all like cocaine residue and shit. Just like, the fuck? God damn you, Florida! / Illinois.
So Valerian in the City of 1,000 Planets getting an award for the first time ever.
From literally
Congratulations.
anyone.
Yeah.
It was really, really tough for me because I always try to pick something I've seen, and
same
most of these futures I've seen kind of fucking suck.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of the movies is we fucked up the future somehow, and now the future cops have to deal with it.
Or future somebody.
Yeah. It's usually a future cop. All right, so let's move on to award number 3, the best piece of tech. Nick, what do you got?
I got Stim from Upgrade. Have you
Okay.
ever seen that movie?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
I know it's good and blah blah blah. I just haven't watched it.
dude, just get on YouTube and watch the fight scenes. They're so fantastic. It takes place in 2045, and it's basically about a guy who was involved in it. He was attacked, him and his wife, and he ends up paraplegic, but saw his wife get murdered. So, of course,
Obviously.
this company, yep, I mean, this is all pretty standard. This company's like, you just so happen to be the right guy, and if you want this highly advanced piece of technology, we'll go ahead and implant it into you free of charge. And it's called
That
STEM.
never backfires on anybody.
What's that?
I said that never backfires on anybody. When
No,
they do
totally doesn't. It doesn't really for this guy, for Gray. My buddy at work, who's like a cinephile or whatever the fuck you want to call it, he is obsessed with movies, but he's like, dude, just fucking watch that goddamn scene, please. So I finally watched it, and oh man, it's just so good. There's like a 1.5-minute fight that's fantastic. So obviously this technology allows him to walk, operate like normal, like he's not paraplegic, and he can basically turn over all his physical motor functions to the AI, and it can control him. So just in the terms of like, say we go to these flying cars and you crash, you got the STEM implant and you're like, yo, I'm falling to the ground. STEM, take over. And you survive the situation because he does some crazy shit only an AI could do.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great piece of tech that can do lots of things.
Well, I mean, my thing was just imagine, I keep going back to like paraplegics or just people who lost motor function in some regard. That would give back so many people their life, or that had, muscular dystrophy or spinal bifida or something like that. That would cure innumerable diseases relatively simply.
I agree. I'm not here to disagree with you there, Nick. But
Could
what I
just be a
am here to
murder
say,
robot.
is it a virtual world where you can do or be anything?
No, but I got something to say about that shit later.
Because
I'll
what
go
I'm
there
picking
later.
is the Oasis from Ready Player One, which takes place in 2045. And I rewatched it.
Movie is terrible.
So I was hoping that I'm far enough removed from when I actually read the book that I'd be able to sit and enjoy it, and I couldn't. And I'm gonna get into that. I've got a rant, but let me talk about the Oasis real quick, because you've got this virtual reality where you can literally go anywhere. You can build and develop any place that's ever existed, fictional or real. You can do literally anything. You can be anything, and it's also a massive game if you want it to be. And that's the first thing that the movie missed. Is the Oasis is a place where people work, they go to school, they conduct business, they buy things. Everything that happens in the real world can happen in the Oasis. But the movie, they put all that to the side, and they made it seem like it only existed for the Easter egg hunt and for like just simple escapism. Like, I'm going and I'm playing a video game for an hour. And that's not what it is.
Right. I mean, it's much more complex with that.
Yes.
It's basically like it's integrated to the point where it's like having a cell phone. We've seen that especially in quarantine. Imagine just being able to go to work in an AI operated system with a headset on.
Right, and you have a virtual conference table. You're all sitting at. You're still doing your thing there. It's a hard watch. Just because
it's fucking rough.
So I've got a rant here. This is like a 2-page rant that I'm gonna try and get through. It feels like that the pop culture references are just there to be there. They don't actually serve any purpose. Not like in the book. They're not even Easter eggs in the movie. They just kind of throw them in your face, beat you over the head with them, while screaming, "Hey, look at this cool thing," over and over again. And every frame.
They never conveyed the fact that he is a dork who knows all these things, and that's what really makes him, the most unique person when it comes to this world.
He's good at it because it's fun to be obsessed with these things, because they're fun things to be obsessed with. He's not just obsessed for the sake of being obsessed or for the sake of finding the egg. He was obsessed even before the egg hunt started because they were interesting and fun things.
Right, that's what he had.
Right. And what the book does, it gives you those kind of same heavy-handed references, but they always meant something to Halliday or the overall hunt in some way. They were breadcrumbs leading. And if you look at the first challenge in book versus movie, in the book you had it's on the planet where all the public schools exist. It's in a non-PvP zone, so nobody can battle there. It's this place that everyone can access because the point was to be able to find it and to win it if you knew enough and got interested in the things Halliday was interested in. So then, there's a cave where the first key is, and the cave is in these woods that meant something special to Halliday and for some reason. And to get through the cave, you had to play through this D&D quest that was important to Halliday because it was like his first one he dungeon mastered or something like that. And then you had to defeat the Lich King by beating him in Joust, which was one of Halliday's favorite games. And you had to know all of those things and be good at all of those things and be able to play through them in order to get the key. And then each key that you got gave you knowledge or an artifact to help you retrieve the next one. So like for the third challenge, you could only complete the third challenge if you had done well in the second challenge and gotten yourself a giant robot. None of that exists in the book.
Well, none of that exists in the movie, and the book did so well in invoking like memories that I actually had as a kid and stuff.
Right.
Most of these things that I dealt with, whereas the movie just it only swung for nostalgia. It didn't.
For the sake of nostalgia.
Right. I guess you could view memories as just simply nostalgia, but I think it's a little more in depth than that. Like there's all the emotion attached to it and stuff like that.
Made me want to consume some of these things. Like I've never played Joust before. I played Joust because like it sounded fun. Like you're this ostrich that is jousting with this other like that sounded like a fun thing to do. So I went and I found it and I played it. Some of the movies mentioned, I watched them because of this book. Some of the books there, I'm reading them because of this. Like and then in the movie you get this race with just a bunch of random shit flying around that means nothing. King Kong's there, there's a T-Rex there, a bunch of cool cars. But knowing what they are and why they would be there doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter that King Kong's there. He's just an obstacle and something cool for people to look at and go, I understood that reference and move on.
Right. I feel included.
Yeah. It's just dumb. And then the way you beat it is you drive backwards, and it took 5 years to figure out they had to drive back. 5 years for people who are obsessed with video games and Easter egg hunting and all this stuff, and nobody thought to drive backwards. Because let me tell you, anyone who's ever played a video game would have tried that shit on about day 3. They'd have gone,
I was going to say,
let's see what happens when you do this.
Get one single GTA driver in that game, and they would have figured that shit out.
Or just like somebody who doesn't know what they're doing and puts their car in reverse instead of drive. Like that.
Your kid gets a hold of it.
Yeah. And he only figures this out on like pure happenstance. It took him no knowledge or skill to actually figure that out. He just like happened to be listening to this dude.
Fuck that movie.
Yeah. It turns Easter egg hunting, which is very fun for video gamers and people who enjoy video games, into essentially just Googling things from Halliday's life that they kind of half remember and then stumbling their way through it. They don't solve any puzzles or put any work in. They just find the answer and go do it. And it's kind of, while I was watching it this time, I realized that it's this weird kind of unintended parallel on how video gaming is today versus in the old school days. Like you had to have your brother's, uncle's, nephew's, cousin whose dad worked for Nintendo tell you about these Easter eggs, and then you still had to go find them and be able to do the things to get to them. Now, if you want to, like, let's take an Arkham game. If you want to get all the Riddler trophies, you just Google it and figure out how to do it.
Right. Well, not even, you don't have to figure out anything. They'll have pictures, fucking maps, detailed step-by-steps.
When I play an Arkham game, I get about 20% of the Riddler trophies just like through my normal gameplay, and then at the end I'm just going to burn through these and just sit there on whatever website I look them up on and go, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that. All right, great.
I said fuck it after a while. I just get the ones that come across in normal gameplay.
Yeah.
But I usually get probably like 55 to 60% because I like to explore in games. I'm just always wandering around. Especially Arkham.
That's understandable. Yeah, Arkham's super fun. And the point of the book is, like you said, the pop culture obsession in the 80s and 90s, that was all people had. They got lost in a specific arcade game or Dungeons & Dragons or movies, because it's all they had to escape whatever shitty situation they were in, or even like normal situations. Like sometimes you just want to be somewhere else. People knew every line to War Games because it was one of the 7 VHS tapes they had at their house, not because some guy said it may be the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
Yeah, no shit.
That's all people had to do was just keep consuming the same things over and over again. And the Oasis brought that back for a new generation of people when it was launched in this world. And the Oasis gave you that escapism, but it also gave you so much more. It gave you a purpose. You could go to school, you could go to work, you could, hunt for the eggs, whatever. It also allowed you to explore and find your own favorite pop culture artifacts. So, like, develop your own personality rather than just liking the things Halliday liked. Because if you like Lord of the Rings, you can go to a recreation of Rivendell and just like explore that. If you don't like Lord of the Rings, you can go to Tatooine. You can do anything that interests you.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
And that was, the Oasis existed before the Egg Hunt, and the movie making it the only purpose of the Oasis was very stupid. And this is why streaming works so well. The 90s kids in us, we can relive our childhood with ease, and we can go back and remember it, and also stumble upon new things. And in the movie, the story of Ready Player One is supposed to be about people discovering these things that are actually good, not just because they're nostalgic, but because they're good and from another time, and you want to learn more about them.
Right, they actually they mean something to you because of everything that's behind it, instead of some bougie shit.
And the Oasis, it was there to help you find a place to fit in and embrace friendships on and offline, not, turn it off for 2 days a week, bringing the entire economy and way of life to the brink of collapse because, you want to fuck your girlfriend.
Right. I mean, that's pretty important.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is, but you can do that whether the Oasis is on or off.
That's true.
Instead of getting the sweet Schoolhouse Rock, The Magic Numbers 3, we get some incel shit. I never kissed that girl that one time 40 years ago, and I'm still pissy about it. Like, that's what Halliday was all about. But then that's bullshit. Like, it was about him finding his friends and being able to engage with his friends in this new fun way. That's why the magic number is 3. So stupid. Having said all of that, the references in the movie are done in a really cool way sometimes, and it's awesome to see these things clash. Like, it's cool to see a race between a DeLorean and Akira's motorcycle and the 66 Batmobile all in one place, or all those robots charging into the final battle. The movie looks cool and does some awesome things. If I had never read the book, it would have been much more enjoyable. And Definitely. The Oasis, because of all this, is an awesome piece of technology capable of doing nearly anything a user wants to. So that's why it gets this award, and it can do even more in Ready Player 2.
Which I have not read.
I got 5 hours left, and it started at like 12 hours, so I'm just a little over halfway.
I heard it's not good.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, that's all right.
A lot of people say Ready Player 1 is not good, so.
No, I read that book in less than a day. I was just like, I can't put this down.
It's a lot of fun. Well, so the cool thing about this is because it was written so Ready Player One was written in 2010, so all of the pop culture references only go up to 2010. But now, because this one was written in 2019, 2020, there's more stuff that we recognize. It's not all 80s and 90s pop culture, throwbacks. There's more. They're getting more of the late 2010s in there of things that were going on. I'm waiting for the first Game of Thrones mention. I haven't heard it yet, though.
Oh, it'll fucking happen. Without a doubt.
It can't not happen, right?
Oh, I mean, if he fails to mention that, he's just lazy.
Yeah.
So where the fuck was he the past 8 years?
I do have 2 honorable mentions real quick. Prometheus.
Oh, shit, too.
With the medical pod.
Yes,
that cure anything.
Fucking dope, dude.
It's programmed for male use only, but that's pretty easily overridden, allowing the machine to give you a C-section and remove a xenomorph baby. So, that's pretty sweet that there's a medical pod that can do that.
That's kind of fucking dope.
It wasn't designed to do that, but it can figure it out. And then going back to Real Steel, because boxing robots are fucking awesome. And
I would have too much fun with that.
Yeah. Low-key, great soundtrack for Real Steel, too. Got some Eminem in there.
Very decent.
Yeah.
I'll get down on that shit.
All right. So what do you got? Oh, no, that was the second one. So we're moving on to the most realistic artificial intelligence, right?
Yes.
All right. So like I said, we got 2 ways to go here. I went with the closest to what we'll see in the real world. and I went to Wall-E from 2008.
Really?
The future is around 700 years in the future, so it's like 2708-ish. They never actually explicitly say it, and Googling could not bring up an actual date. But at one point they do say it's like 700 years in the future. So I'm going with 2708 is when this takes place.
2805 is what I found in my research.
Well, there you go. You researched better than I did.
Dang!
This is kind of how I think, and we already see it a little bit, all of the AI are extremely specialized. You've got your garbage robot, your plant hunting robot, your cleaning robot, your pilot robot, a robot to pick up fat people off the floor when they fall out of their chair robots.
Gross!
Just lots of different robots doing one specific job well. And we're already seeing that. We have Roombas, we've got automatic pool cleaners, lawnmowers, self-driving cars are becoming more and more
Fucking love my
prevalent.
Roomba.
Huh?
Fucking
Roombas are
love my
great.
Roomba. Dude, it's the shit.
We have quote-unquote AI assistants with your Alexas and Siris and all that. Every AI, thing that you would call AI right now has its own specific purpose. And I think this is a good thing, because I think that's going to help stop the robot uprising if each of them can only do one thing.
It has to.
Nobody's going to be really that afraid of their robot lawnmower. But if it's...
Yeah, right, dude. I'll be scared as shit. Fuck that. You're just walking along and it jumps out at you.
Now think it's a robot lawnmower that can also clean your pool and vacuum your floor and carry a gun and jump really far and run really fast and I don't know, what else do scary robots do?
They wear a bunch
Crash
of
the stock
pythons
Yeah.
on their necks and throw them at you violently after winding them up.
It also allows us to be lazy, right? Because that's the reason anyone teaches a computer to do anything, is they want to be lazy. They don't want to do this thing, so I'm going to teach something specifically to do that thing for me.
That, or it just does it faster than me.
Well, yeah. And I think just once we start packing too many things into one device, that's when it's going to start thinking it can take over the world. It's like, whoa, yesterday I could just help you Google shit, but now I can mow your lawn too? Watch out, world. I'm coming for you.
I think going back to Dix here, as I tend to do every episode.
Every time, yeah.
As soon as that robot can jerk someone off, or that artificial intelligence,
definitely jerk off robots out there.
Oh, I'm sure, but once that's like widely available, and this thing is like, I don't know, say you get some AI that looks like Margot Robbie, and its sole job is to just jerk you off, so it's very fucking good at it. I mean, the world's
now
gonna
you're getting
end.
into Blade Runner territory.
The world's just gonna be over.
That's fair.
Just be like, I haven't felt a woman in 10 years.
So that you can't make them look too lifelike. I hope we're smart enough to not make them too lifelike.
Bro, you could put that in like some seedy ass areas and just have lifelike boobs on it and a lifelike ass, and the rest of it could be metal, and they would be lining up. Well, the hands, yeah, they could probably be metal too, and they'd be like, yeah, cool, fucking sweet.
All right, what do you got for most realistic artificial intelligence?
I went the opposite way, and I went most lifelike. So literally, if you say you were talking to him on the phone or something like that, you would have no idea. And that's Sonny from iRobot. Isn't that his name?
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to double check because I forget. Honestly, if I did not see he was a fucking robot, I would totally think that dude was actually human. Oh, absolutely.
I feel like he's got that robot tinge. Like, when you talk to Alexa or Siri, they've got a human voice program in there, obviously, but it still doesn't really sound human.
Have you noticed that they never actually have AI sound human in any of these movies because it freaks people the fuck out? I mean, I think that's really, it comes down to like a baseline fear response, but the fact that the emotional aspect of it and the learning curve and the, taking things and practically applying them, I think is extremely fascinating, and the way he grappled with killing his creator. Like that's incredibly tough decision making, and without, that specific programming like you mentioned before to know how to operate within those confines 100% of the time. If he was a
lawnmower, he would not have been able to throw his creator out a window. That's all I'm saying. There you go.
he would have just hacked them to pieces and felt nothing about it. But I just thought it was, that's what a human would do. If
Yes,
they,
I agree.
They would weigh that shit.
Well, that's kind of why I went the other way, because I wanted to think, how are we actually going to develop AI? And it's going to be doing single jobs, I think, or multiple connected jobs.
I agree with you. Or just like an automated factory.
Right.
So it does 7 or 8 specific things.
Yeah, it doesn't do one thing, but it does, all the steps on the command line there. And just because I also when you put too many things into a device, how does it know which command to prioritize, right? And that's what happens in iRobot.
We're almost getting there with like my iWatch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had a Pebble Time Steel or Pebble Steel 2, whatever. Old school technology,
yep.
But I feel like it worked almost better than my iWatch because it did less.
Yeah.
Like it just it did less but did them better.
Yeah, I have a Xiaomi, been in the news a lot lately, because we won't let them build their cell phones in America or sell their cell phones anyway. It's a smartwatch in heavy air quotes, because it was $40 and it's kind of like the first generation Fitbit. Like all it does is track my steps and my sleep and wake me up, and I can read text messages on it. And that's all I want. I don't need 40 different apps on my wrist. I'm not fucking Dick Tracy here.
But although you wish you could be.
No, there's
lies,
never
Kevin.
a time
fucking
where
lies.
Well, yeah, I want to be Dick Tracy, but there's never a time where I want to answer a phone call on my wrist.
The only time I do that, it's actually really convenient. I think it's case by case, but for me and my wife, whenever, because we like to call each other on the way home from work, say you need to pick something up at the store or something, or what's for dinner, and we just get the most horrible reverberations in our cell phones, and cops get you if you have that shit.
Yeah.
Anywhere, say you're,
you don't have Bluetooth built into your car.
I drive a 2008, and so does
no.
she. So we have Bluetooth, but I mean it works in 150 times I try to connect it.
That's understandable. All right, I'll let you slide with your watch then.
There you go.
The final award is the most compelling problem that could only exist in the future. Nick, what did you go with?
I chose motherfucking Minority Report.
Ooh.
Set in 2054. So my whole thing is the whole concept of pre-crime detection and elimination of crimes is good in theory, but when if you look at it objectively, it's 3 fucking people in a tank making predictions. I guess they have some precognition. They are then put into mental anguish with the fucking halos. You're basically lobotomized.
Are they wrong all the time too? Isn't that what they find out in the movie? I've never seen Minority Report.
Oh no, they're not wrong all the time, but they can be fooled. Like you can beat the system, and it's supposed to be foolproof, and it's just you're fucking with people's lives here. And I gotta say this, and I think everyone listening to this who is an American will agree with me. I would burn this shit down before I fucking would sit there and be like, yeah, these people have not committed a crime. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, let's throw them in jail. Right.
No, what they do is they put a thing called a halo on them, and it basically puts you in. It lobotomizes you. Oh, you're just fucking there, and then they put you in a tank, like a little tiny cell. You don't see the light of day, and it's like you're a fucking book, and they put you on a bookshelf. And they got a lot of cool tech in that too. They have a sick stick, and it's like a baton that you jab someone with, and they will throw up everywhere. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, it's
like the Weasley twins puking pastilles.
There you go, but with a stick. And I mean, Tom Cruise is in it, so it's really, really cool. But and they have the guns in that movie are really, you wind them up and they shoot air. But it's anyway, or gravity. Sorry.
I was gonna say the dude in No Country for Old Men had a gun that shot air. It's not future shit.
That shot a rod about 4 inches out. That would
way scarier. I thought it was just doing it with air.
No, it's
a big fan of No Country for Old Men. It's boring as hell.
Fuck no. That is the best movie ever made. It's used to kill cattle. It shoots a rod into their brain and kills them instantly.
I knew all of that. I thought it was just like the compressed air did all that work.
That's some serious compressed air.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, pre-crime, kiss my ass. Like, what do you know, it just
Couldn't you
won't
just
work.
tell the person, hey, you're going to commit a crime, and then they don't? Like, this person doesn't know they're going to commit a crime?
Yeah, no. I mean, that's just not as fun. Gotta have
not.
Tom Cruise come in a fucking jetpack. So that's my pick.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely compelling because you got the morality issues. You've got really just morality issues on top of morality issues on top of morality issues.
Well, I mean,
And
the future technology, they have like self-driving cars and stuff like that. So I feel like with a simpler life to take that much of a power grab, that's fucked up. That is a serious fucking problem.
So I went with Ender's Game, which takes place sometime after 100 years in the future.
That's a great pick. Damn.
Using kids to commit alien genocide by making them believe they're playing video games is really only something that the
Harrison
future
Ford
could
would
give
do.
us. And Harrison Ford, yeah.
He would fucking do that shit.
Have you ever read Ender's Game?
I have not read it, but I watched the movie, and
the movie's good. It does a mostly good job of kind of capturing the spirit of the book while being way less detailed.
I read up enough about the book because I was very curious afterwards, because I knew it was a big deal. It was like, why is this so popular?
Yeah,
and
it's one of those classics, kind of like Dune, just a classic
Right.
sci-fi novel, and it's a series. I only read the first one because it's incredibly dense with exposition explaining the world, and not even world building, like just explaining the world and what it's like and why it's like that. There are just these long stretches of boring explanations, or Ender's kind of crawling through the mind game slowly and methodically. It's like if George R.R. Martin took steroids and started building his world, because it's not that complex. Or just
smoked a bunch of dope.
Yeah, it's not that complex, and he just drones on and on, making sure we know every detail of everything, and it's hard.
Some people like that. Not I.
I'm usually all for world building, but it doesn't ever feel like it's it's world building, but it's not expanding the world in any way.
It's world listing.
Yes.
It's just like, yeah, that green, spherical pot there.
And I would say that's the biggest thing that the movie misses out on, which is, for a movie, probably a good thing. But in the book, he kind of goes deeper and deeper into the mind game. He meets the matriarch of the alien species and communicates with her telepathically, kind of before, like, as he's still going through the trials and the battles. And he starts gaining empathy for the aliens because he thinks he's playing a game, but he's also telepathically communicating, gets all this empathy for them before he actually goes on the final attack, which he still thinks are simulations. And it hits a lot harder when he finally realizes that he destroyed this alien race and that those weren't simulations. I think the movie does a good enough job of having come to the realization and coping with it. They just don't have all the baggage on it that the book does, where he's actually having these conversations, actually learning from the aliens and bonding with them a little bit.
They don't quite let the humanity all the way in. Just a little bit. They open the door.
No, and so in the movie, at the end, he takes off with the alien queen egg to kind of recolonize somewhere else and allow the aliens to have their lives back. But I'm pretty sure in the book, he realizes he destroyed just one of several of these alien planets. And so he ventures out to find others and make peace with them, because he's still able to communicate with that master queen or whatever it is. And he's trying to clear his conscience and kind of help them rebuild and find out what they're doing. And why they attacked in the first place.
They would fuck that kid up. They're like, we're coming for you.
Well, no.
Bitch.
He's been talking to them. Like, they know him.
That's what I'm saying. Buds. And he still blew up a fucking planet.
That's fair.
You think someone wouldn't be like, dog, I'm going to skin you alive. You're going to get hurt. And it's not going to be tight.
Yeah, I'm a little fuzzy on the details because, like I said, I was very, very bored. And I was just constantly slipping in and out of attention to it. But I paid pretty good attention towards the end. But really, back to the real point here, this could only happen in the future. Using kids who are good at video games and making war into a video game and then lying to them to win the game, but really they're killing people or aliens. I mean, we had the same thing in season 4 of Arrested Development with Buster. So,
I was going to say, that shit happens right now.
It's had to have at least been floated out there as an idea at some point if it's going on in Arrested Development. And
dude, they give them Xbox controllers to blow people up in the Middle East. That shit's going down right now.
War is and definitely will continue to become less and less a human effort. We have drones out there. There are constantly projects for remote controlled, soldiers or exosuit type things. Different weapons, military vehicles, and honestly, that's going to be the next logical step, right? If we don't have any human cost to war, then decisions become easier, and at some point when people realize we're fighting our robots against somebody else's robots, then maybe we get to this point where somebody realizes what are we doing here? We're just robot fighting, which again, I'm all for robot fighting.
Oh, I'm there.
But what are we proving at that point?
Someone will be a dick and break the Geneva Convention squared, where, robots don't kill humans, and then it's fucking on.
And so my point is, if real remote control warfare, everything's remote controlled in the way it is in Ender's Game, if that becomes a thing, the next step is releasing it as a super cool video game, and then quote unquote recruiting all of the best players, and those players are most likely in the 13 to 22-year-old range, right? Because those are the people who have time and dexterity to play games at a high level. And those people also can't grasp the full weight of what they're doing. So we're really, if it continues this way, Ender's Game could be a potential future for us.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
And then you get the question of morality comes in of first, you're recruiting and lying to these kids to fight your wars, and then also what are those wars actually accomplishing? Who are these child soldiers now killing? What atrocities are they responsible for that they're unaware of? How do they cope with that when they realize that they're committing atrocity like that? And Ender Game raises all those questions, and that's really something that the future could only happen in the future, because
I got the
video games are the devil.
You hire Michael Jordan, and every time some kid gets uppity, you say, "Fuck them kids."
There you go.
There you go. Ender, you're upset. You ended a planet. Fuck you, buddy.
So those are our 5 awards. We gave out best vehicle, best future to live in, best piece of tech, and most realistic artificial intelligence, and the most compelling problem that could only exist in the future. Did we miss any categories, Nick?
I had a couple. I had 3, actually.
Ooh.
So I got best fashion trend and or style.
I like that.
I actually chose I Am Legend because Will Smith, he's got good style in that movie.
Yeah, I'd go with iRobot, same reason. Just Will Smith out there stunting.
Stylistic as fuck.
I think we can put the Matrix and the Superlatives there. They're basically just wearing rags.
And trench coats. Big ones.
I know you haven't seen this, but you got to give a shout out to Back to the Future 2 with the self-lacing shoes and the jacket that resizes itself to fit you perfectly. That's some good stuff.
That's kind of dope. That would be absolutely acceptable.
You should watch the movie and then you'd know what I'm talking about.
Nah. I'm a rebel, dude. I don't fucking do that. All right.
Okay.
Sorry, I've been spending too much time around my nephew, who's 16.
That makes sense.
He's a fucking rebel, dog.
They all are
16. Yeah, fuck yeah. And stinky, too. I didn't realize motherfuckers like that stink so bad. Best and worst futuristic food. So, Snowpiercer. They're eating fucking bugs. That ain't
definitely
tight.
Snowpiercer. Bugs and human. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, gross. And when I think about it, it's all those futuristic movies where they eat a pod, a tiny little pill, and they're like,
I would love that.
I'm so full.
Give me the pill. That I just can keep going. I'm not a big let's sit and have a meal type person. I'm just eating is just a thing you have to do to get on with your life. Right.
I like to eat good food and then I poop it out. That's the way it goes.
I don't know about best food, but the worst food is definitely going back to the Future 2. They instead of microwaves, they have hydrators, so they have these little tiny pieces of food and they put it in the hydrator and it blows up to a real. I couldn't do that. I'm like, there's no way this thing came from that thing.
Get out of town. That pizza looked amazing. I did see that clip. It was the half pepperoni, half peppers. That looked fantastic.
Maybe.
But no, think of the snot in The Matrix. I wouldn't eat that shit. I'd rather. Open up the door, I'm throwing myself the fuck out of here. I'm bald, I'm fucking puking on I'm already bald, but, I don't have to be in the Matrix for that, but I'm not eating snot. I'm eating fucking
you get a great steak
cheesesteaks.
when you go back to the...
Right.
Tap back in.
Yeah, don't give me that fucking snot. And then I also got the best/worst futuristic novelty. So I'm thinking Bruce Willis's short cigarette and the machine that, like, manages his smoking in The Fifth Element.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that?
Yeah. Well, no, I haven't. But I know what you're talking about.
Right. He's trying to quit, and it gives him, like, as the movie progresses, the filter gets longer and longer, and the actual tobacco gets shorter and shorter, and it's timed. I think that's kind of a dope little novelty.
I mean, yeah, we have those
Self-tying
now
shoes.
With the e-cigarettes, except nobody actually weans himself off of them.
Well, you can't it doesn't. Yeah, that's different. I'm sorry. You're wrong, Calvin.
So I was kind of lumping that in with the best tech, but there's like the problem with that is there's so much like actual really good things, like the Oasis and the Matrix itself is a piece of tech, and the stem implant, like all of that is so far and beyond. I like this kind of subcategory of like what's the kind of little day-to-day thing that you're using.
Right.
And I think the hoverboard, Back to the Future 2 again, is really great.
Sweet.
The seashells are bad in Demolition Man.
Scoop it out your ass.
Yeah, so there's some stuff there. I had a strangest product placement. Like, what product feels the most out of place being advertised in the future?
That's fucking good. Did you get that from Demolition Man?
No, because of the franchise wars. I think Taco Bell could actually win the franchise wars. They would
I think
fight
they
dirty.
could too. As long as they keep their breakfast up, they would win. Yeah. Their breakfast is on point.
I went to Idiocracy where Carl's Jr. won the franchise wars.
There you go.
There's no way Carl's Jr. is the one that survives 500 years.
Is it Carl's Jr. or Hardee's where you're from?
We don't have either here. It's Hardee's down in Florida, but we don't have either in anywhere near me, which is a good thing probably.
Yeah.
Idiocracy, it also features Pepsi, Starbucks, Costco, those types of things, but those feel like they could be around 500 years from now. Carl's Jr., no way.
I don't know, man. 2 for $3 bacon, egg, and cheese biscuits. It's fucking life.
The people are also named after brands, but the brands don't exist anymore. Like there's somebody named Frito and Formica and things like that. Idiocracy is a lot of fun.
It's a good movie. I like it.
And I think that's pretty realistic that we're 15 years away from naming somebody Frito. Like there's probably somebody named Frito.
I mean, there's like a shitload of people named Frito.
You're thinking of Frodo.
There's a shitload of people named Frodo. I guarantee it.
What about Formica?
Let's find out. I don't know.
The other one I had is Best and Worst Future Job.
That's a pretty good one.
Robot Boxer is obviously up at the top.
I mean, that's literally where I would be.
Yeah, and any version of Future Cop is at the bottom. iRobot, Blade Runner, Cop. RoboCop, like no way. There's too many new and strange threats to deal with that there's no way that anything going on being a cop is worth it or enjoyable in any way.
Well, they mostly fight dirty. They'll shoot your dick off, man.
Yeah. No cop in a future movie looks like they're having a good time ever.
Hell no. And they're usually like obese, divorced, fucking truly upset, or getting their dick shot off. Fuck all that noise.
Yeah, Will Smith in iRobot is super obese.
I mean,
I think he is divorced though. So there you go.
I don't think he's divorced. He's just extremely lonely.
No, he's divorced because the lady is a psychologist, and when he first meets her, she's asked him all these questions, and he'd be like, "You should meet my ex-wife," or did my ex-wife tell you to ask me that? He keeps making little comments on that.
There you go.
So it is. All right.
Thanks for that, Calvin.
So the last thing before we move into the Superlatives, and this is different from the best future. What aspects of the future movies do you think are going to bleed into real life within our lifetime?
I think your point of fucking
boxing robots?
Individualized AI. God, I would love that. Well, I mean, we already have like fighting robot shows.
Yeah, no, I want the real Rock'em Sock'em robots like we see in Real Steel.
That'd be tight.
And beyond that, I want robots to replace every athlete. Maybe not replace, just have a separate but equal robot league. And at the end of
No
the
way,
season,
dude.
you have your robot champion play your human champion for total sports supremacy.
LeBron James would still win that shit at like
Can you imagine
75.
football with robots, though?
It'd
That
be
would be
boring
fun.
as fuck. I see that shit
No
on,
way.
what, Fox News? Or Fox, they actually
Yeah, when
have
they do
the
the
little
That's
robot
true.
guy.
There's
I
this
mean,
running joke in How I Met Your Mother where they go to watch robots versus wrestlers. And I don't know that I've ever wanted to see a fictitious thing more than robots versus wrestlers, other than the
that'd be pretty
NBA versus RBA championship game that I just made up like 10 seconds ago.
cool. Steph Curry would get packed at the 3-point line
Yeah.
every
Just with
5
the
seconds.
go-go gadget arms, pretty much. They've got
Whack.
a few older video games that kind of cover robots playing sports. Mutant Football League exists on the Switch right now. I want to play it, but I haven't gotten into it yet. For basketball, there's Bill Laimbeer's Combat Basketball for the Super Nintendo.
Yes.
It's terrible. It's one
I
of the
fucking
worst
bet.
games I've ever played in my life. But it sounded awesome. So I
It
went, I
sounds
found
great.
it, I tried to play it. It's insane. You have no idea where the ball is, where it's going. You constantly are like getting out of bounds. You can't shoot the ball for shit. You can't play defense. It's just a mess. There's also Super Baseball 3000 for Super Nintendo. That not good either. Very weird. So what was the thing you were saying? I'm sorry, I cut you off with my boxing robots because everything comes back to boxing robots.
Oh, it was just, all I thought was individualized tech.
Yeah. Or the AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're seeing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Did you care to expand? No?
No, not really.
Okay.
I just think we kind of touched on most of that earlier. I think it's just going to be really specialized AI that takes a lot
things.
of, the effort out of our lives.
Yeah. I think that's the point we're getting to with it. I think more realistically than boxing robots, which again, like, let's get on that. Elon Musk, what are you doing? Sending cars into space and all this shit. Just get us the boxing robots.
It's like, I'm listening to your show and I finally got a good idea.
Demolition Man is oddly the most prescient future movie that I watched
You
in
think
the
so?
last month. Yes. Just, you got to ignore the crazy stuff like cryo prisons, franchise wars, and the seashells. But a lot of the less crazy stuff that's in there, the smaller stuff that don't like jump out at you, they're pretty spot on. Let me give you a rundown here. They've got computer therapist. That's the thing that exists. Computers use emoji-like typeface to relay messages to people. That's a thing that exists. Cameras and tracking ability on everything. Again, that's a thing that exists. We all walk around with a camera and tracker on us at all times in your cell phone.
This is true.
You think about something like they have this verbal morality statute where basically if you say a cuss word, one of these ever all-seeing eyes prints out a ticket for you for saying the word fuck. And that seems outlandish until you think of any large online multiplayer lobby that already kind of uses this type of thing. We're just not the government and police force doing that. You know?
Yeah.
But
I'd be pissed, dude. I cuss way too much.
oh yeah, I'd be getting tickets all over the place. But the technology behind it exists. So we're just not getting tickets for it. But you can get banned from, online lobbies and things like that. And,
Yeah, that's a good
a
point.
lot of conservatives seem to think that we actually live in this world right now where you can't say what you want wherever you want because, Twitter won't let them threaten Congress people openly.
But my free speech!
And there's Dennis Leary plays kind of this revolutionary character, underground character, and that's what these people think that they are. They think that they're fighting for freedom when really they're just overgrown man babies bitching that they're not as privileged as they think they should be, or some imagined oppression because people of color should be treated like people, and that somehow if people of color are treated like people, that's not fair to rich white dudes anymore.
Yeah, the whole world's gonna just explode.
Yeah. Fuck those people.
Yeah, they can eat dicks.
Hybrid self-driving cars. That's a thing that is very close to they exist. They're just not
100% safe yet.
they're not 100% safe and they're not ubiquitous, right? And by hybrid, I don't mean gas electric. You can drive them or they drive themselves, kind of like an iRobot. There's a version of the police force that has been quote unquote defunded and they don't utilize violence, but instead approach situations as needed and apply logic and sympathy to these confrontations. Wesley
They're
Snipes
usually
kills the
got some.
shit out of a bunch of them, but
They usually got some psychological training,
yeah, we could probably find
psychiatric
some middle
training.
ground somewhere in between completely militarized and completely soft, where Wesley Snipes just guns through all of you.
Yeah, no shit, but it's Wesley Snipes, dude.
Yeah, shout out Wesley Snipes in
Yeah, for real.
Demolition Man. They've got interconnected government systems that are super easy to hack. Again, something that exists now. Zoom-style video conference calls. No physical contact greetings. Got that going on right now.
Demolition Man's a fucking on point.
I know. Strict gun regulations. Radio stations that only play commercials. Most of the radio is commercials. A lot of 90s nostalgia going on. Sandra Bullock's character is like obsessed with the 90s. There's a Schwarzenegger presidency, and that seems kind of calm and easy compared to what we just went through.
I will take that, dude. He's a genuinely decent human being.
Except he can't be president because he is not born a U.S. citizen. So
he's more American than so many Americans.
That's
out there.
fair, but it's also in the Constitution. So
I get it.
We have mass corporate takeover when the citizenry is fearful and desperate. You don't see Apple swooping in to pick up the pieces of our crumbled lives after this pandemic. Oh, they're coming.
I hope. Jeff Bezos.
A lot of conversations about consent before sex. Like they really have a good, deep conversation about it. Like 1993 Demolition Man knew what it was doing.
I swear to God, they had a fucking, what are they called? I was gonna say a seeing eyeball.
That's every eyeball. One of the
I hope so.
Crystal ball.
And if you're, there you go. They had a crystal ball. Sylvester Stallone and all that coke. Just that combination just fucking made this futuristic movie into reality.
Well, and a lot of future movies, they kind of like touch on these types of things or have one or two of them, but they always take it a step too far. Demolition Man, it does it in some cases, but these are like real types of things that actually sustain and are going to continue to move forward as we move into the future. Like Demolition Man hit the nail on the head with a lot of these things.
Right.
For a dumb action movie, it's really fantastic.
There really is more to the dumb action movie than I ever thought until I hit my most recent age.
Yeah, this one's got action. It's got bad but also awesome one-liners, car chases, kung fu, social commentary, Stallone, Snipes. It's amazing. Sandra Bullock. The only way it could be any better is if they're stealing cars.
Or there's fighting robots.
Yeah. Both of those things. Stealing cars to fight robots.
Or stealing robot cars that transform into fighting robots.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting all this stuff by 2032 as Demolition Man kind of predicted. But
make it happen, dude.
This kind of stuff is going to keep bleeding into real life more than anything from The Matrix or, Alien is going to, right?
Probably.
So shout out to Demolition Man.
Yeah, I gotta go watch that shit.
You should. It's super fun.
I've heard.
All right, let's move into the superlatives. Again, we will move through these quite quickly. What do you got for the worst vehicle?
Worst vehicle, I got the motorcycle from Dread, which takes place in 2070.
I gotta watch Dread again.
I fucking love that movie. Not only does it look really, really aesthetically displeasing, it looks fucking dumb. He gets in a pursuit with a van at high speeds. They could literally just slam on their brakes and he'd be fucking paced. Like sideswipe him, he'd be fucking over. It wouldn't even matter.
Motorcycles are never a good idea.
No, and it can only fire one direction.
That's not helpful.
Like, what if he takes a turn too fast? Or he just slams on his brakes and fucking smears you?
He's clearly not concerned with any of those things.
Well, the thing that pissed me off the most, Calvin, which it probably shouldn't have, is he couldn't even catch up to the goddamn van. It's a minivan with 3 people in it. It's like falling apart, and he could not catch up to it. Stupid.
That's fair.
That's a worse vehicle.
The spinners from Blade Runner, the flying police cars.
Those are kind of whack.
It flies, but like, what else does it do? It's got a lot of controls and screens
it flies.
inside.
I mean, fuck it, it only flies.
It looks like it's just distracting as all hell to be trying to drive one of those, to be honest.
Thank God they're driving themselves.
Yeah, there's a ton of shit going on inside the cab of that. It's got 2 wheels on the front still for some reason. it just looks and feels pretty stupid.
Ain't having it.
Also, in Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, and Repeat, this is an honorable mention, Superlatives, they have to get across the country in some shitty, like, 2004 minivan. So I think that should be considered for worst vehicle.
That's a great movie.
It really is. I don't know that takes place far enough in the future to actually qualify, because it's like it was made in 2017 and takes place in 2020. Because the initial alien attack happened in 2019, and then they developed the exosuits and all that, and the main action takes place in 2020.
Oh.
All right, so for the worst future to live in, I went with Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
This is going to be the hardest because you lived through the tragedy. You know, a lot of these future movies, if you're living in it, you probably did. A lot of the future movies that we talk about, the character either comes from in the past to the future and is adjusting, or they're already living in the future, right? It's 30 years in the future, but they developed with the future. This all happened in a snap, literally. And it would be so impossible to cope with the level of tragedy on a daily basis and just have no answers for it. Because you think the Avengers are out here telling people what really happened? No fucking way they're out there telling people what happened.
Yeah, guys, we failed, and then half the universe is gone. Oops,
sorry. You're just sitting there with nothing while the world continues to fall apart around you, and then just when you start to come around, it's 5 years later, finally beginning to move on, and they're like, boom! Everyone's back. Don't worry.
Don't do that.
They're fine.
Don't give me hope.
What did you have for the worst future to live in?
WALL-E.
Because just being a fat piece of shit.
I literally wrote, everyone is so fat and Earth is dirty AF. Runner up is I Am Legend.
Yep, that would be rough. That was on my list of potentials. But
those vampires are loud as fuck, man. They can fuck off.
Yeah,
dickheads killing dogs.
What did you have for the worst piece of tech?
This one was super easy. I chose David from Prometheus because he fucking sucks, man. He is a dickhead. Fuck that guy.
And it carries right over to Alien Covenant. I watched both of those last night.
Both in one night, Calvin?
Well, so I watched Prometheus because it was on my list of things to watch, because I wanted to see how the med pod worked again. I wanted to see a little bit more David and the ship and all of that. And then I got to the end of Prometheus and I'm like, I know David plays a role in Covenant. What does he actually do? And I was just like, I just got to watch Covenant now. And so I did.
Yeah, I watched Covenant when it first came out on DVD. And I was upset.
They don't stand up to Alien and Aliens, but I enjoy both of those movies.
I like Prometheus, and I enjoy, to a certain extent, Alien Covenant.
There's a lot of aliens in a couple scenes of Covenant, which is really dope. So.
Right, and I mean, the fact that technology has come so far to bring this shit to life.
Agreed.
Sorry, had to yawn there again.
You need a nap, Nick.
Dude, I've been up since 2:30
I'm sure our listeners are yawning too after almost an hour and a half of futures that they cannot live in.
Let's get it. Let's move through this stuff.
All right. So David, yeah, he sucks. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's gonna eat dicks.
I went back to Demolition Man with the seashells.
Yeah?
It's a bad piece of tech, man.
So explain this to me. How do you wipe your ass?
So here's Stallone stated in interviews that 2 of the shells were used to clamp and remove waste, while the third was used to scrape the remainder.
So you're telling me everyone just has these super solid shits that you grip from your asshole.
Right out.
Yeah, and then you scrape the rest of it.
Yeah, you scrape the rest
with an abrasive surface that's possibly, remnants of sand and was once in an ocean.
They're like steel. They look like they're stainless steel or something, which I don't know that that's better
that's
than
even
remnants
worse.
Of sand, but
how do you fucking get anything off with that? That just smears shit everywhere. I don't even want.
So thank you, Stallone, in whatever interview. Also in Demolition Man, all their computer systems have a voice output for absolutely everything they do, and that's super annoying. So I got to put that up there with the worst tech as well.
Yeah.
It's one thing that you have to look at the loading screen, but having a voice just going searching for info, loading info, retrieving info, reading you the info, that's just obtrusive. Get the fuck out of here with that.
Stallone was like, just fucking have me stainless steel. Fucking, just scrapes off your ass. They read everything, dude. I can't read. I can't fucking, I can't read.
So for the least realistic AI, I went your route, but the opposite of your route because this is the worst. Blade Runner replicants. So these are by far
least realistic.
Well, so these are by far the most lifelike. But I don't think we're ever going to get to a point where AI so closely resembles human experience, and here's why. As pointed out in a lot of these movies, and frankly throughout our own human history, humans can't help but enslave other things. We fucking love enslaving things.
Right.
We don't need to go out and create our own slave labor corps here. And if we do, we should not make them look like people. Because I don't know how we haven't learned anything at this point that slavery is bad and that the subjugated people are eventually going to get wise to the fact that they're being subjugated and they're going to fight back against it. That's not a good idea when we genetically engineer these slaves to be bigger, faster, stronger, and better in every way possible than we are.
And there's a shitload of them.
Yeah, they live off-world, but clearly they can get back. And
they have guns too.
If a being has the capacity to develop feelings like they do in Blade Runner, how about we just don't force them into slave labor,
That sounds tight to me.
Maybe the machines in the Matrix are right after all. And all the machines in Terminator and every other AI that's ever turned on us in a movie, because people kind of suck and we need to stop turning everything into slaves.
I mean, at least the robots in fucking the Matrix gave you like an alternate reality to live in that's comfortable.
Yes, that's
everyone
fair.
Else just fucking smears you on the pavement.
So I don't think this is going to happen anytime in the near future. I think we're going to keep getting better and better AI. I don't think we're going to try to make it more lifelike, because when robots look like people, it's going to be hard to enslave them on a humanitarian level.
Well, and then everyone's going to have sex with them.
Well, that's the other thing.
And yeah, we'll leave it at that.
And we're going to have to make sure that we can enslave them. Otherwise, why are we creating this AI? So if they look like people, we're not going to do that.
There you go.
And it's a bad plan to create artificial people, send them off-world as slaves. If they return for some reason, hunt them down. And then it's hard to hunt them down when they look like everyone else. So why did we make them look like us in the first place if we can't identify them easily to take them out? Like, if this is the plan, that they might one day come back at us, do all the first few steps, but make their skin green or give them giant heads. Do something that they don't fucking look like people.
You should really be a script doctor.
I don't see us making real living people as artificial intelligence.
I mean, I think a couple of people would try, and then regulation would just derail it.
Yeah. What did you have for the least realistic AI?
Fucking the robot from Bicentennial Man, which takes place in 2048.
I've never made it all the way through that. That is a long and boring Robin Williams movie.
Oh my god. So this AI is programmed to perform the tasks of a butler.
Mm-hmm.
But he wants to be human, even though he sees how fucked up humanity is
Classic
as
Pinocchio
creatures.
Story.
Oh my god, so fucking idiotic. If this was real artificial intelligence, or like even remotely artificial intelligence, as we conceive it, they'd be like, fuck that shit.
Yeah, no,
I'm going to eliminate you because you suck.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are going to try and enslave us, so I'm going to enslave you before you can do that.
Pretty much. Serve me, bitches.
I completely agree. I tried to watch Bicentennial Man. I was probably like 13 when I rented it. And
movie is awful.
Well, here I'm coming from. Here's my last few Robin Williams movies that I've seen. Hook, Aladdin, Jack, Patch Adams. All very fun-loving, fun, enjoyable Robin Williams movies.
That one, not so much.
Doubtfire in there. Then you get Bicentennial Man, and it's just this long, fucking boring robot wants to be a human, and it is awful. Don't watch Bicentennial Man if you've never seen it.
Yeah, if you can avoid it, just
if you can take any advice from 13-year-old me, it's don't watch Bicentennial Man. That's fair, right? All right, so last one here. What is the least compelling problem that could only exist in the future?
I'm gonna come at you pretty hard. That's having the Oasis from Ready Player One, because people don't escape reality with headsets, Calvin. They do it with drugs. And having a giant competition for billions of dollars and being the sole head of a company that makes one of the coolest innovations and shitloads of other tech, that's not going to fly. I just don't think that would actually be a problem in the future, because if you have these mega corporations or something that makes technology like that...
IOI would have won that shit in like a week.
Oh, okay, so say if Tim Cook just fucking died, and in his will, Tim Apple, he was just like, hey, everyone have a competition to see what I like the most, and whoever wins owns Apple. Whoever won would get assassinated in like 4 hours.
Well, not only that, Amazon would take over any competition, and they would find a way to hire whoever's winning, or the person who was winning would not be able to win anymore.
They would just make it impossible.
Yeah. I agree. That's solid. I went with Wall-E. Everyone gets super fat and addicted to screens and lets the ship control their lives for them. I don't find it narratively compelling, but I think we're going to try really hard to follow that path and get there.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
It's just, it's not a compelling problem that just be like, everybody's fat and lazy. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Get up. Honorable mention to Idiocracy with the Brondo. It's got what plants need. It's got electrolytes. I know people are dumb in general, but I don't feel like we could go so far off the dumb cliff that we think Gatorade is a viable replacement for water.
Dude, people think Mountain Dew is a viable replacement for water.
For themselves, not for growing plants. Or what happens in Idiocracy is Brondo buys the FDA and replaces all the water supply with Gatorade. Because Brondo realized that water was cutting into their future profit margins. So they bought the FDA and FCC, enabling them to say and do anything they wanted and replace all water with Brondo. I just don't see that happening all over the world. Like, maybe one country tries it, right? But I don't see the rest of the world letting that happen.
Fucking Nestle. They'll do it.
Nestle makes water, though.
No, they're trying to fucking privatize water. If once people say, oh, you can't privatize water, you can't do that. That's a natural resource. They'll be like, all right, well, I have this, what the fuck is it? Tea-Dazzle.
Tea-Dazzle. But so the other part of this is that when they replaced all the water with Gatorade, they can't figure out why nothing's growing or nothing's working right. Like, all right, if we're dumb enough to let Gatorade replace all the water, somebody's got to go like, hey, it's because we replaced all the water with Gatorade. That's why the plants don't grow. Before 500 years later.
No more plants for you.
I don't know. The future is a grim, grim spectacle. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's for goddamn sure.
So on that note, thank you for listening to a podcast about something. We will always be here in the future. We'll live on in our hearts and minds until the year 2108.
At least.
No, 2108. That's the cutoff.
And no mas.
Set the self-destruct up.
There you
go. Tune in next week as we cover more. You can also listen on YouTube and any of your podcast apps. Leave us a rating and review. Subscribe on whatever platform you feel like listening on. Check out our merch at tpublic.com/APA something, or just search a podcast about something in TeePublic. You'll find us. We're there. There's links in the description too. You can just click on those if you want, since you're already on your phone. Buy something.
Yeah, they'll be super tight.
Yeah, but the clothes won't be super tight unless you want them that way. Then you can order a size smaller.
Yeah, there you go. They fit so nicely. They're so very comfy. Check
us out on Twitter at APA something @alone_podcast. And as always, thank you to those cats for providing all of the music for a podcast about something.
You gotta stay sassy.
Stay classy.